Okay, it is April 30th, 2026. It is 3:46 p.m. This is the Willington Board of Education Subcommittee. This is the Policy Committee. We have a ton of policies to go through. The intent today is not necessarily to make decisions. I just loaded you up with a bunch of policies to kind of give you a high level overview of what's what. There are a couple that we can move a little bit faster on. There's probably some that you're going to want to slow down on. And what I tried to do is put them into folders for you so you could see what we currently have. If there was a shipment model policy, we put that in the folder as well. And most likely, I'm usually going to say we should try and steer towards the shipment and start from that. If there's something in our other policy that you could that you wanted, you could 100% move that in. I'm just gonna hide non-participants, and so I'm gonna share these and fire through. And it's harder to see you when I share, but just yell if you want me to stop.
Will do.
And if you see like Arthur's trying to get in or something and I don't see it, will you let me know?
I will. Yep. Oh, he's trying to get in.
I see that right there. Perfect. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second, just so I can make that one a co-host for him too. Yeah, it's make co-host. Confirm. Okay. Sweet. Share. Okay. So first policy is a new policy. We are required to have a meal charging policy. Shipman has one. The strikeout's basically just their introduction. And I'm gonna fly through these and then give you a chance, and maybe what we can do is just schedule our next meeting and come back to these. This is one that we are in the process of having our what I'll call our audit for food services. We are required to have a meal charging policy. And our policy is actually going to be better than most because the shipment policy did not have something in it that is required, and that is this in yellow. So everything else in there is shipment, and I actually met with this person on Monday or Tuesday, who's doing our food service audit. She's watching the program, watching everything come through and looking at free and reduced, doing all sorts of stuff. There is a requirement that the Board of Education has to take care of any unpaid debt, lunch balances by June 30th of each year. And that was not in the policy. What people write in there is basically that you'll comply with federal law. And she said, you get dinged on that in your review if that's not explicitly there. So I shared this with her and said, does this meet your requirement? And she said, yes. I actually pulled it straight from this guide to required policy for unpaid meal charges for school nutrition program. This is what they tell you what has to be in the policy. And she's already read this and said, it's wonderful. That is the one piece that would need to be added. It basically just goes through the process of what happens if we have unpaid meals. We're not allowed to delay or refuse to serve a student. They get a breakfast and a lunch. It is not a student's responsibility to know if they have money on their account. It is our responsibility to know that, and a parent or guardians. We cannot offer a different option. Like years ago, it used to be a cheese sandwich. That is no longer the case. They get the meal, and then there's no disciplinary action against a student that doesn't have money on their account. It is a parent issue. We automatically send out low balance or no balance emails. And then anything after 5 will basically include an administrator, where we'll put something in writing to a parent. It will be emailed to them. There may be a phone call on that, but this policy says there will be a written communication at least. Okay. And again, if it's not paid by June 30th, the Board of Ed pays it. What I'll tell you is we have a donations line. It is an off-budget line. We just received I can't remember if it was $1,500 or $2,000 from someone. I think it was $2,000 donation. Someone that happened to be donating for the PTA road race asked about this, and I said, "Yeah, we have a donation line," and they sent a $2,000 check.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
yes, we actually have enough money to pay off any debt that's in there, which is nice. So it also goes on to say that we have to disseminate the policy. It's important for people to know that. So, someone says, well, you can't eat. That's not the case. We disseminate this, and we would put some of this policy into our staff handbooks. And then the legal references are there. So this is one I would prefer to move quicker on. It's a little bit shorter. This is not a policy we have currently. And to be blunt, other districts' policies are very much lacking. So any questions about that before I move? I'm going to move pretty quick.
Nope.
No.
Do you want time to think about this policy? This is one that I would be okay with giving this to, and obviously, as Brianna jumps in, I can get her feedback that we could send this to the full board in May. I would be okay with this one just because we don't have one, and this is pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
I
I'd
think
be
that's
fine with
fine.
Okay.
Sorry, Arthur.
No, it's okay.
All right. Close that. Keep that open. Close that. Okay. The next one is ages of attendance. Your policy is older, and they have had some changes over the last couple of years with the waivers and things. This is from 2010. The law trumped your policy, but that's changed. So Shipman put something out actually just recently on April 21st, is when this article came out. Next year is the last year a family can request a waiver to enter kindergarten without their child turning 5 before September 1st. You have a decision to make. This policy has not been updated by Shipman. They updated it. Sorry, I thought it was right there and it's not. They had updated it in 24 to match the law. But this yellow would go away after July 1, or we'll say June 30th of 27. There is no more waivers legally. This is the last year that a school district would be allowed to take a kindergarten student in if they're not born before September 1. My question to you is, do you want to consider that for 26-27? We currently have 4 students that have requested a waiver. That's on top of, and I emailed this to you, where our current kindergarten numbers were. It does not mean they would get in. It just means that we would evaluate them to see if they were ready for kindergarten. If we felt they were ready, we could offer them a slot. If they were not, they would not be eligible for kindergarten until the following year. That decision impacts this policy because obviously we would just take out what's there about the waiver and do the rest. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So the state or the the state mandate goes away in 27.
The state law changes, and it's really, let me show you this. So this is basically, so we're in phase 1 right now. And this July 1, 26 allows the admission waiver process. It's currently mandatory. We had to do it last year. The only way it occurs for next school year, meaning we would have to evaluate kids at the end of this year and into the summer for next 26-27. But we can only do that if we have this policy written in. If we don't have a policy, we don't evaluate kids, and it's just they have to wait. In phase 2, July 1, 27, there is no more early admission waiver process. It's gone.
And there's already 4 kids who have applied for the waiver.
Yes, because we weren't sure, and this is most districts, they weren't sure, they were waiting to see how this was going to turn out, because has been a talking point in the legislation. We were waiting to see if it was going to change. And Shipman doesn't believe, and that's why they just posted this. So the phase in to phase one, phase two is going to be the way it's going to be, unless they change it something next year. It's not a big deal to evaluate those kids. But know that your policy could not allow that after that date. I'm just gonna move
I
this.
feel like it would be um not great to reverse evaluating those students based on the fact that they applied in good faith and are going forward with the process. I feel like um I think we should do it.
Allow the waiver
Yeah,
if they if they
if they qualify for sure.
after our assessments if they qualify. So that's basically that's what's in yellow here. This would basically remain, and then we would just adjust this policy that's it's only eligible for this year.
Yep.
Um, they would do the Arthur, thoughts on that?
Did you say they already filled out the waiver?
So there, there is no filling out of a waiver. It's literally send an email, and the email to the principal says, "I would like my child to be considered, based upon state law, to be eligible for kindergarten if they qualify, and we are required to assess them if you have this policy." So they've sent 4 people have sent the email because people talk. They know that this is something that happened last year. So they've already sent this written request.
Okay, then I'm fine with I'm fine with that. I wouldn't be opposed to just following what the state is doing and making the cutoff date for these things July 1st of 26. So the 4 people who have already emailed, they're in before the cutoff, so which is fine.
Even after July 126, if you have the policy in, they could apply for the waiver and so say somebody moved into district in August and they were 4 years old, and they had an October birthday, they could apply for a waiver as well, and we would assess them and determine if they were ready or not. So you're
Because this policy still exists.
correct.
So
Basically,
it's an
the
all
waiver,
it's an all or nothing thing. You can't put a date on it necessarily.
are you letting people in? I appreciate that if you are.
Yeah, yeah, I am. It's just popping up right in the middle of my screen.
Thanks,
So
I appreciate it. Yeah, basically, and what's funky about it is like someone could move in December and request it, but and their child could still be 4, if that makes sense. And we would have to evaluate them to see it. The odds of that happening are slim, but and it's not a big deal to evaluate. It's really not. If you are going to allow you want to allow the hi Brianna. Oh, I have to make her. Can you make her a co-host? 3 dots next to her and just click co-host for her.
I am actually away from the computer.
Okay, let me do it. Let me just stop sharing real quick.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
can do it.
It's okay. I just stopped sharing for a second. Make co-host. Confirm.
I could not have done it actually.
um, so we're just Brianna, you're well versed in this. We're talking about the kindergarten waiver. The only way they can do the waiver is if we have a policy. We're inclined at this point, we already have 4 people requesting the waiver for 26, 27. We're inclined to allow the waiver for 26, 27. It has to go away for 27, 28 because that's the law.
Mhm.
Because we already have people requesting it, we assess them, and if they qualify for kindergarten based upon their skills, we would let them in. If not, they wouldn't be eligible for kindergarten until the next year.
Yep.
If that's the case, if you are proposing that, I would like to bring this policy to the board as well, in for May, so that they can. It's not a long policy. Again, it's pretty short, and so that they could have the weigh in on it too, because obviously it would have to be voted on to do that. That vote could happen in June. That would be okay. But my team is going to just start moving in that direction unless someone really opposes it. Is that clear?
Are you sure it's on or before the first day of September? I think it's before.
Hold on.
That's a teeny little thing, but still.
So this is the language from,
The state?
well, so this is the shipment thing, and then this is a shipment policy. Are you tell me where you're reading it?
In your yellow here. For children who will not reach the age of 5,
before.
yeah, on or before. I think it's
I
not
can
on.
clarify
I
that.
think it's before.
Maybe it's here. All children must be 5 years old before September 1. Yep.
Yeah.
So I can just change that right here. Age 5. I'll just strike that. Good catch. All right. If you're okay with that, I'll keep moving. And are you guys okay if I send this to the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they have to vote on it, just it's pretty short. At least they can weigh in on it if they don't want to do it. Okay. Let me close this. That's gonna go away. That's gonna go away. Sorry, I have them in order and I'm just trying to keep it straight. This is the old one. So we would be adopting the new shipment and getting rid of this old policy, if that makes sense.
Yep.
The next policy,
Can I ask you a question?
yes.
Are you doing one for preschool too? At this time or not yet?
No.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
Some districts are just having like a very specific like start date, like they have to be 3 by a certain date. That of course is outside of the birth to 3 situations, but some people were following it up with that also.
I have not seen
Not
that.
really. Okay.
All right. This next one is this is a new policy as well. We do not have or we need to develop a policy on library collection development and maintenance. I have worked with Amy on this for actually a couple months. We've gone back and forth on some things, so you're going to see our notes in here as well. I just left the shipment policy along with what is here, and there's no, I'm not pushing this one fast. You're going to want to take some time to read this. This would be a new policy number, and basically it just goes through what is required by law of what we have to do for our library collections. And the idea is that if there's someone that wants to remove something, they have to follow a procedure. And then we also have to identify how we review material, how we select material, and how we, get rid of, material. So the bottom line with this is it's gonna take some time for you to go through this. They do have sections in here like where it says, I left this in because we might have a student who is 14 years old. That's why she had made a note in here, but I would take that out. If it's straight high school, I left it in for shipment just so you can see it. But I would say anything that's not, if we don't have a high school, I would take it out. And what I'm going to try and get to here. In the appendix, there's a library review procedure, and this is the selection of the materials. So you have to, if you look at how they did this in the model policy, sorry for making you dizzy, how they did it in this model is they just said client to develop. Okay, this yellow was us putting something in. And so this is what we're required to do. So what we did was we put some items in that were how materials were selected. Some of this was from other districts. I think we looked at Hebron's, the development of it. And then you can see Amy's notes. This is stated in the introduction. Everything in blue would be the policy for selection, deselection, and that we, here's the resource. Where we did make some changes, and I'm just introducing this policy. I don't expect you to have loads of feedback on it today. Is in the form. We did not particularly like the general form that Shipman put forward. It was like who it was, what's your info, and then I've read the library collection policy. I'm reviewing that policy materials and to be reviewed. That's all they did. The yellow is us. Okay. So we did not like what Shipman was in there. And then they just had this and we took this out. So we're suggesting it to look like this. It would be cleaned up, obviously. Same information. Have you read it? Here's my information. And then what specifically are you requesting to be pulled? Here's the author, title, who was requested by, what, is it the complaint represents? Is it himself or other? What do you object? Is it entirety? Is it a portion of? We use a portion sometimes of text in classrooms, right? So is that something that they would want? What do you feel might be the result of reading this book? What age group would you recommend this book for? She's seen these questionnaires and other policies, so we just pulled through to try and get some more information about why someone wanted something pulled. These can be adjusted. We just felt like it was more information for us to really understand the why. And that's for you to review and come back with some feedback on. Any other items you want me to talk to you about? This is one that you're going to have to come back to. I just wanted to introduce it.
Yeah, so the high school is doing this one at the same time. Is
Yeah.
there anything in this policy that addresses existing material in the library? In the review of that?
Meaning, like, is it going to require Amy to go through all of our books?
Yeah, kind of.
I don't believe so. It's just if there's a chat. I mean, so the selection process and where it's what is leaving. If there's any deselection, she would have to go through this process. But if this is more along the lines of if somebody had a complaint about it. But I don't think it would require her to go through every book.
Okay, because that is something that is being done up at the high school.
Okay.
There's the new library director who is taking that initiative. I don't think that's a bad idea for us to do. It might not have to be in a policy per se, but I don't think that's a bad idea for us to look at in the future.
They've done a lot of weeding, but I can find out and just have a conversation with her what that might look like.
Okay.
Arthur, what are they looking for? Like books that are banned already?
No, it's not a banned book thing. It's the library director is going through and she's got a set of lists that are out there for I can't remember how she phrased it. It's not a look for a banned book thing. It's a kind of revaluation of, is this material appropriate for this age group? She's not finding a ton of stuff, but she's actively going through and just seeing, what's out there. It's a big undertaking, so it's not, expected to be done anytime soon, but it is actively being worked on.
Yeah, I just wonder what guidelines she's using.
I will find out for you in a couple weeks because we have our meeting in May, and that is a number 1 on our next policy meeting. So, because she did put a lot of work into the policy, so I promised her we would get it looked at and done by May, so I can get back to you.
Awesome.
I wonder if it's tied to like each of when you look at there's age groups typically tied to each text, and sometimes they say pre-K 2, sometimes they say pre-K 12. If you've had a book in your system for a long time and it's a newer update and they've moved this is adult only type book, that may be something that they're looking at to make sure, there's balance in that.
That
Mhm.
sounds right. I just don't know what the kind of list she called it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's some review of library professionals. Like it's not some,
Right.
wonky list from somebody on the
Yeah, I'm
internet.
sure.
But
I don't
So,
think she just printed out any old thing. I just was
right.
curious.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll find out for you.
Thanks.
it might be in here. Amy would be able to tell me off the top of my head, off the top of her head. I know exactly what you're talking about, how it was rated.
Okay.
Um, okay, I'm going to keep moving if that's all right. So you have some homework to look at that policy and see if you have anything that jumps out at you. Again, you can see our suggestion for the questionnaire versus the shipment example. Let me close that. This is slow today. All right, the next policy is the sexual discrimination and sexual harassment. What I'll tell you is these two policies are split apart in your policy manual. And they were done in 2010. So this one was 2010, and I think this one was a little bit different. And this is both tied to students, by the way. This one was looked at in 19. What I'll tell you is Shipman has tied them together in one. Holy camoli, this slow. So it's regarding prohibition of sex discrimination and sexual harassment, and it's tied to students. I will tell you that when you start looking at the update on this of when it was done, I would feel much better on this just because of how current that is. October 21, 25, that you take this policy as your start. Again, I haven't put anything in here because I don't want to waste my time if you don't want to do that and you want to just update your policy. But I would encourage you to take this approach. This policy isn't, honestly, it's not that long. Where it really gets into the longer part is the administrative reg. And I've gone through this, but you would want to go through the administrative reg as well. That technically is owned by me, but honestly, if this is again a shipment piece that they're suggesting this is the way you should be doing it, this is what I would be using. So you would be basically eliminating your prior two policies and making one policy. You could probably name it, do the same type of number here, 5145, and put it into one. Again, high level, I just wanted to introduce it to you so that you could just go back through and read these and understand what I'm proposing. Any questions about this policy?
We have all the shipment stuff in the list that you sent, right?
Yeah, so in your folders, you have the current policy along with the shipment. If there's a shipment example model policy, it's in your folder.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yes.
What is the I guess I'm trying to understand what the benefit of combining versus keeping them separate is.
So I will tell you, my belief is oftentimes when you have something that's discrimination that's based on its sex and related, you also start getting into sexual harassment. So oftentimes these investigations cross. And so instead of having two separate policies where you want to make sure they're aligned, they've put them into one to make sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's as part of your investigation.
Okay.
And really, when you start looking at it, it's Title IX related, and that's what you're going to see entirely when you get into the like any of the reporting, any of the evaluation, any of the investigation, they go hand in hand. And that's the reason why.
Who's our Title IX coordinator?
Marcia.
Okay.
Good with that? Keep moving.
Yep.
So you've got some reading to do on that one. And again, my proposal is to dump those other two to take on the new one. Discrimination. Okay. Next one is the same exact thing, but it is related to staff. It's personnel. And they've done the same thing. So you can see our policies here. Goodness gracious, this is slow right now. What is going on? It's 411811 and 411812. It's sexual harassment, and the other one is non-discrimination. They've dropped them into one. Wow, hold on. I'm just going to mute. Okay, whatever reason, I'm not sure why. So this is the combination of the two into one. It's the same concept. And so I would propose you do the same thing, especially when you look at these again and you start looking at dates. 2018 is you know, something that you want to make sure that you're taking that most current piece. Both of them were done in 18, and I believe this is was Jackie's review. That was her review when she was here. What it allows you to do when Shipman doesn't update is it allows you just to make the changes. If there's law changes to law, is just insert what their updates were. Same approach. Question about this? I didn't lose Arthur, did I? I can't see him, so.
Nope.
No, I'm
Okay.
still here.
Okay. So take a peek at these, and if you think there's a reason why you'd like to see them separated, that's fine. Or if you have any feedback on the specific shipment policies, let me know. But that's would be my recommendation to dump those two and take the shipment version, which would be that. And again, I'm in no rush on those. Okay. This is the next policy. It is use of a private vehicle by a district employee. This does not happen often. However, it does happen occasionally. Sometimes we'll have a parent who's stranded and we have to get a kid home, and you know, there's an older brother or sister that's there to help, but they can't drive. They're not old enough to drive. So the parent will say, is there any way? So there's a policy around that. The green, there is no policy, shipment policy for this. Okay. So it's the only one you're going to see. This actually went back through Kerma, who is our insurance provider. They actually just sent an update as well. And so it matches so far, but once you kind of give the nod on this, I'll send it back to them before we send it to the full board. The green is the insert is where they have made their recommendations already. And so that's Kerma's piece, which you'd want to take. And basically it requires, the policy that for us to have that person's policy on file. And who are we talking about? We're talking about administrators. We're talking about maybe a social worker, maybe a school counselor, and maybe a mental health professional. So we're only probably talking about 6 or 7 people in district. If they do not feel comfortable doing this, they would not be able to transport. I think in my time as superintendent, this has probably happened less than 5 times in total. We had one this year where actually the parent was stranded, and we just went and picked the parent up at home and came back to the school, picked up the kids, so the parent was in the car. And it's just a coverage for us. So you see the policy there. This is something that, again, I would want to send this back through Kerma one more time and make sure they're okay with everything that's there. This one probably won't require as much your time on. Questions on this policy?
So number 3.
Yeah.
Must have the prior express written permission of the superintendent and or his or her designee. So does that mean we have an existing list that's kept on file?
So we don't right now don't have anybody driving this year, but basically if they want to drive, they'd have to turn in their policy and I just write you have clearance if there's something that comes up and they could not get me and there's no other way to do it, they would have that permission to be able to do that. But
That's what I mean. Shouldn't we have an existing list of at least one or two people every year, so we don't have to scramble in case of an emergency?
yes, correct. Yes, that's the intent of it.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And then if those, say the administrators are the only ones that are willing to do it, we would have their names on file and they would know. So if there's ever a chance that we want to have that in advance so that if they ever couldn't get me, like they always call me and say, hey, here's the situation we're dealing with, we're stuck. But it just allows us that extra added piece. So
Well, yeah, because I mean, written permission is specifically outlined in number 3, so that's why I'm making sure. Because then technically you wouldn't, if we didn't have that, you wouldn't be able to just call you and say, this is what's happening, and you give the okay, like it's not written.
correct.
Okay.
And I would just put that in the file. Is that what you're saying? If that's what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying.
Yeah, I'm saying that this list is available and updated as, at least every school year.
Yeah, annually. Yeah. Yeah. Here are the people that can drive. They have my permission to do so in the rare occasion that. Yep.
Yeah. And just a housekeeping thing, I would change his or her designee to their designee.
Ooh, yeah, good catch. Anything else that you guys want to add on that one? Or my thought is just again to give you time on this, just to go through them. I wanted to introduce them. All right, I'm going to keep moving because I don't see any odds. All right, next policy is social media. This one was interesting. We get from Shipman, they send out a legal like letter every week, every 2 weeks. And it's an example. Someone wrote a letter and say, hey, so and so posted this on social media. They're all legal cases and they'll respond and they're actually really good. This comes up a lot. Social media does. This was when this was done, this policy is relatively new. However, a lot's changed with social media, and what's really up and updated is the case law. So again, I would go back to and adopt Shipman. It is short, but again, look at the update and what they're referencing. So they're referencing statutes, but they're referencing the legal references are up here, which to me matters. So I would prefer that you just take this one over and dump your old one. But there may be some things in here that you saw that you liked that you would like to maintain. This was, I believe this is more of a Willington policy, like, hey, here's some things that, we don't want you to be friends with parents or, things like that. So I would suggest you take some time and compare the two. I'm suggesting you take this one here. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Social media. Social media. Okay. that brings us to child abuse. This was done in 22. Anytime you can update something that's tied to child abuse, I would do it. Shipman has a model policy around this. Oh my goodness gracious. If you, again, the other piece to me that's important on this policy, and there's a lot in this, and you can see there's a lot in this. Sorry. Nine 7/25 update, and there's regs. So that's the statutory piece, but I believe there's regs in this as well. So I would suggest you take this. There's some, like, they have this optional piece in here as part of training, but I think if Shipman is saying you should use this, I'm just trying to get to the last piece, sorry. That you should take this as is. It's way longer than what we have currently. And you can see that. It's the regs are within it, I think. Yeah. So that again would be my suggestion. Just dump this and go straight to Shipman. It includes everything. But again, I would want you to go through the Shipman policy and see if there's something in there that you have any questions about, or you would want to make an adjustment of what's in there. Makes sense? Sorry
Yep.
for all.
Yep.
Bill,
Go for it.
would you mind just doing a little blurb about Shipman, just so that folks like who might watch this understand where these are coming from?
Yeah, so Shipman and Goodwin is the, I will say, one of the top three. Many people would say they're number one legal law firm for education in the state of Connecticut. They are also recognized nationally as leaders in policy and law, just in general, education law in general. And we subscribe to a model policy database, basically. And so what happens is, as the legislative session wraps up in the next week or so, and there's new legislation that comes out, and we end up getting new laws that impact policy and education, they will provide updates for us because we subscribe to their services. Some policies that they have been sitting for 10 years because nothing's changed. If there's new case law or there's new legislation and it needs to be updated, they will provide that update to make sure you're doing the most current piece that you need to do. And so we have not we've only had them for I think a year and a half now, a couple of years as model policies. And so we are subscribed to them, and that's why I'm recommending you use them. The other piece for us that's really important is when you subscribe to them, if you take that policy, if you're using exactly their language, as long as it fits your need, when that update comes, they give you a red line update that shows you exactly what the changes are. And it will meet the newest legislation and the law. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so you have some reading to do there. Next one is search and seizure. This is our current policy, and it's old. 03. I was surprised Jackie did not review this in 18. I would just take the new Shipman one again because it's legal, and just looking at this is how you know. I mean, they had a technical revision in 2020, which was minor, but this is how you know not much has changed, which is why we haven't needed to update ours either. There's not a lot of new case law that's changed anything. They've just stuck to this. Even still, I would suggest you just take the shipment policy and go with it. There is a lengthy administrative reg that goes along with this. And I would suggest that you read that as well, because that's something that I would adopt on my side to go along with the policy.
Yeah, I definitely want time to go through this one.
Yep. Yeah. And again, if you're gonna spend your time on it, I would suggest using theirs. I don't think there's much in ours that is it's so short. I would use theirs as your starting point. Keep moving. And again, you got some
Yep.
reading. Sorry, just wanted to get the high level overview for you here. Okay. We are on to, here's your easiest policy of the day. This is physical examinations. How about that? This is not something we're actually even allowed to do. We haven't been doing it. If you had someone that was out on FMLA and you needed, to ensure that they were eligible to come back to work, that's written under FMLA. It's not part of ours. So I talked to our attorney about this and she fully agrees. This should be taken out entirely. So take a peek at it. I'm going to keep moving. The next one is health and wellness. We have a health and wellness committee. And this is our old policy. We have to do this. They actually, as part of our review for the cafeteria, they look at our policy. They, again, they appreciate the shipment policy. So I would just request you go through that one as your primary. There's a lot of stuff in here because we're a national school lunch program. You're going to see that it's in there. We have to meet the nutrition guidelines. So anywhere you see that, we're a USDA school, we're a national school lunch program. It's required. So if you see something in here that jumps out at you, let me know. But again, I would suggest you just transition over to this policy. This one's a little bit different. What I would like you to do is once you go through this, before this would go to the full board. Typically, when you update a policy, I bring it to admin and say, do you have any other feedback based upon what the board subcommittee has shared? In this case, once you update, if you are recommending this policy, I would bring this to the wellness committee. I have a meeting scheduled already with this group, and I was intending to bring this to them so they have access to it and they can review it as well. And that will allow us kind of to review it at a similar timing, if that makes sense. Questions here?
No.
This is going to be your exhaustive reading. All right. So you're on to public and executive sessions. This was a portion of this, and I want to make sure that this shipment policy is the model policy for public meetings and executive sessions. Again, I would say go to it. The one thing that, and Arthur, you had some things in here. You had a section in here on minutes, and there was nothing on minutes in this one. They just mention it someplace in there. If you wanted to transfer over something about minutes, you could, but that's really the difference in that example. There are and this is legal in our legal law book. There are only so many reasons you can go into executive session. It's dictated by the Freedom of Information Act and law, and these are the 5 reasons. They're written right there. So it has to fall into one of those reasons to be able to move into executive session. There are no minutes taken in executive session. There are certain scenarios where something that you can't vote in executive session, but if you came out and you then took action, like on real estate would be an example, where, hey, there's now an executive session, or they're looking at purchasing real estate, there's an agreement made, it no longer would be covered on executive session. The information would then come out and be shared, if that makes sense. That is not the case for all executive session items, but that's an example where something could be shared after the fact. Questions about this one? Okay, keep moving. All right. 5125 is student records and confidentiality. Your policy here, again, just because this is such a legal one, I would suggest you go use the Shipman one. I just got to move you over for a second. This, ironically, is the longest policy that you would have, 48 pages. And it just lays everything out as far as notification, confidentiality, all of the items in here. This would be my suggestion to take over this policy. I'm just trying to find there's a section I wanted you to see. This would help with a red line too. If there's any updates, you would be able to just easily find if there's a change in law or case law that changed something, that you could do it. Education records. Sorry, I'm just trying to find one part. There is yeah. So there is the complete, even though this is here, they updated this policy here. I think the government has actually closed this department. So I have to check with our attorney to see if there's some new place to send it, because I think this has been closed, the Student Privacy Policy Office. So I have to find out if this is there's a new location where complaints would go to. And then obviously there's a reg to this. So I would suggest you just take this, and this would apply for take over the current policy you have. Questions about this one? Over. Okay, I'm going to keep going. There is no model policy for unexpected funds. So we just updated and then changed to the law of what you can do. In your folder, I believe this is the folder that you can see. This is really slow. In your folder, you'll see the new, I just dropped something in there for you. This is about the process of the why. And so we've taken out now, so it's basically clear that you can do it, the percentage you can do it. Law trumped what you had in policy. This now just basically matches the law. So this is technically one you probably could move on faster. It's not very long. And this is straight from the legal update. It basically takes the BOF out of it, and you're in control of your account if you want to put money, as long as you're operating within the 2% and not to extend the 3% of the most fiscal year, the budget. Questions about that policy?
Is this one that can go to the full board sooner than the other ones, or?
Yeah, this one's, I mean, I'll move anything you want to the full board, but this is definitely one that is short enough and the information's out there that if you wanted to send this one, I can move this one too. That's up to you.
I mean, it's based on the law. There's not much we can change about it, so I'm not sure
Yeah, and the other
what we're
part of
gonna
this
do
is
about it.
I was gonna ask you what your time frame was. If you want like um and I know life is busy and things are going on. If you want a week to go through all these policies and then come back to them just so you can think, or you want a couple weeks, or it would allow you to review some of these and then push it out. If you're going to give something to the board sooner than later, I'd like to give it to them sooner than later. But that's up to you. I just don't know how much time. There's some that's going to take you some time to get through. I mean, some of them are just so long, whereas some of them like this are a little bit shorter and you can probably move a little bit faster and check them off your list. That is up to you. So I'm glad to move this, now if you want. I just want to make sure you have the ability as a committee that you can take the time to look at it. That's why I'm not pushing. Arthur, Brianna, any thoughts?
When are you meeting with the Health and Wellness Committee?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
You said it was coming up, so
It
we
is.
should.
I don't have it in front of me.
That's okay. It would go to the full board before you bring it. No, it would go to us, then you talk to them, then.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of bringing it to the committee at the same time I'm bringing it to you, so that way the feedback is aligned.
Mhm.
I would not bring it to the wellness policy to the full board before you and the committee have given their feedback on it.
Okay, yeah.
So like that one, I don't want to move too quickly on that to make sure that people can give their feedback if there's something in there. I'm just trying to
Okay.
see on my calendar. Um,
Does the full board have to vote to eliminate policies also?
yes,
Okay. So
correct.
that physical examination one, we should be able to add to the next agenda to eliminate because it's just not going to exist anymore.
As long as you're okay with me doing that, I'm totally fine with that.
Anybody else?
It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
What would you like for time? And it doesn't mean you have to do every policy at the same time. If you want to, take a few days and then just shoot me an email and say, okay, we could do one meeting if you feel like there's some policies we can move faster on this list, that you could just focus on those in one meeting and then do wave two as the bigger piece.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. It's up to you. So right now you have I think it was meal charge was one to the board. Ages of attendance would go to the board. I heard unexpected education funds would go to the board, and physical exam would go to the board. What about the private use of vehicles? You want time on that one?
I would not very long, but I would.
That's okay.
I might be able to get back to you before our next board meeting. So
That's what I was going to say. I can take a look between now and the next meeting, and then if I have anything, bring it up with everybody else.
Okay. And what I can do is I can share that what we currently have with Kerma one more time just to make sure they're good with it.
Mhm.
And so Arthur, I'll wait for you to kind of give me the nod, like, yeah, if you want to talk about it in subcommittee, then we'll bring it back to subcommittee. If you think it's good to move to the full board, I'll send it out to them. I think all of the other ones are big enough that you're gonna want time on. The only one, I'm not sure executive session, that could be, it's probably gonna be a faster one, maybe. But some of these other ones are pretty lengthy. So how much time do you want to, like, when would you like me to, do you want a couple weeks to review those? And come back to another kind of 3:45, 4 o'clock?
Would we be
I
able
mean, I
to?
would
Go ahead.
go ahead, Jen. No, you have a question. I just have a comment, so go ahead.
Would we be able to send comments ahead of time so that it's not this like I don't know how like that would work if we can collaborate ahead of time or like make comments on the policies or ask you questions or something.
Yeah, I set up, I'm pretty sure I set this up this way. I think we set it up. Oh, of course I picked the one that didn't have it. I'm pretty sure the way we set it up was when there's a model policy, it's in as it's either a Word doc or a Google Doc, but they're all in the Google Drive, and you should be able to comment. I'm just clicking the share one more time just to make sure. You can actually highlight and make comments all the way through. And I gave my admin team the same piece. That way no one can change anything without somebody else seeing something. But like you could make comments on any piece of the policies that you have. So that way, if you want to see what someone, is bringing up or has a question about, I might be able to put those questions in there or the answers in there if there's an answer. And then we can go through those comments as a framework of organizing your policy work moving forward. So that way you're not going paragraph by paragraph. If you
Yeah.
say, I'd like to discuss this paragraph, you highlight it, we can just go right to that. And it streamlines some of this conversation.
Okay. That would be great.
And if you have any issues getting into them or figuring out how to do the comments, let me know. I'm glad to help you with that. So time frame wise, what do you want? I mean, you've got some big policies there. You've probably got 10 policies. And if there's something in order that you want to address first, that's up to you.
Well, our next meeting, full board, is the 12th, right? Second Tuesday.
Sure, yes. I don't know.
So, Jen and Arthur, do you think there's anything on here that we can read through and be ready to bring to the full group before that date? Maybe we should break it down by that. Although I don't know because it's hard to say how long they are and how much time we'll need.
I think the private use of vehicles is probably one of those.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna throw something out there and see if it sticks. If you wanted to say it another Thursday, meet in a week and identify a couple policies on here that you wanted to address that day, the use of private vehicles could be one that you could just snap through. And are there any others that you would want to tackle that day that would make sense for? And it doesn't mean you have to move them forward to the full board. It just means you're starting to tackle them.
I think that's a good way to organize it.
Okay, so next, so are you okay with it Thursday? Does that work for you?
It's fine for me. Has to take the last like 15 minutes on the road, but other than that, it's fine.
I have a staff meeting, but I can jump in when I'm done.
What time do you normally finish?
That's done at 4:30.
I mean, it could be 2 weeks too if you want. I mean, there's a lot of policies there, so you tell me.
I was just trying to see if there's any we can add to the meeting on the 12th and like get them squared away, you know?
That would give you 5 policies for them to read. I think there will be 5 policies.
1, 2,
Go to
3,
the full
4.
board. Meal charging, if I heard this correct, meal charge, ages of attendance, use of private vehicles if you approve that one. Physical examinations and unexpected education funds account.
Okay, yep. You're right, that's a lot.
All right, maybe I'll do this then. As a group right now, is there anything, do you just want to go in order of what they're not in any particular order? Do you just want to go in the order they're in? And I'll have Brianna schedule a time so that will work, and we'll maybe try and get through those first three: library collections and sexual discrimination and harassment, personnel and staff.
Yeah, you could put the library one on there because I should have some more information on my side by in another month because we meet the third Thursday. So
So what I'll rely on you guys then is maybe what you want to do is take a peek at the policies, and if you are like, I really don't have a lot of questions about this, it's legal, I would just leave it as is, and it's going to move faster, that could be on a meeting. If it's going to be slower and you want to have more discussion about it, then we would just block them out that way. Why don't you guys target the first three then? Library and the sexual discrimination and harassment. If you think you can handle more than that, then let me know that, and I'll add more. And when we set the agenda, when we start to do the agenda, when we find the date, you can let me know, hey, I think I can get through this policy and this policy too. Does that make sense? And I'm just going to say go in order. That way we're all working in the same direction.
Yes.
And Arthur, you're going to let me know if you have any feedback about the private vehicles one.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like a plan to me then. So just start going in order, and if you want to have any comments, put your comments in, other people can see them, and it'll help us streamline just reviewing them.
So I have two things actually before we leave. So we got communications about the climate survey and the climate issues in the school, and I know we should have a policy about that, but it wasn't on this meeting. Can we have that looked at next meeting so we can kind of see what's going on there?
You have your new, what do you mean, your new climate policy?
Yeah, I mean, whatever if we have one existing or if we have a new one, I mean, I think with the concerns we received, we should definitely be reviewing that.
Yeah, I think we adopted it in, I can't remember when we adopted, I'll have to look, but yeah, we can come back through. That's up to you. It's your call.
And then my other question was, so it's been a long time since we met, and I
Yeah.
know that you had mentioned that there were policies that were discovered that were not in our books and not on our website. Are any of those included in this list?
Well, you didn't have the new is meal charging and library collections, but all the others exist. And every policy, I think Brenda printed them and gave them to you if it wasn't on your list, and if not, then let me know that.
Well, I don't know because the issue came up. I mean, we had this discussion after an incident at Hall,
Yeah.
and you had advised that there were policies that were found that weren't recorded anywhere. So I'm wondering if they're on this list so we can get them, updated and posted and all that.
Every policy that has ever been approved, she went back through everything, is online right now. I'm just trying to see if I can show you something. Okay, so like this is an example. Let me see if I can share my screen again. And I guess I'd be curious to know because I thought this happened, but I'd want to know. So the way I'm seeing this right now, Arthur, is that the policies that I saw added were in all caps. And so fixed assets and inventory control, I'd be curious to know if you have a 3440 in your book. If you guys could check that for me, I thought
Yeah.
Brenda, those copies, those are the ones that, but no, there's not like, they're not, none of them are on this list, no. I kind of picked the most current ones that were legal and from a shipment perspective probably needed to be updated. And that we had the most current legal policies there. That's how I went through. I didn't go through like 1000s or 2000s or 3000s in order that way.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to know, what was missing and what it is. So if they're all in caps, I mean, that's an easy way for me to look. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I just want to make sure you should have them in your books though. Like you are given a paper book each, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I have that.
Yeah, that's what, but I thought Brenda made those copies. So if we didn't do that, let me know because I would want to make sure. When we went back into minutes years and years and years ago, the way they did the policies, it was literally just, do you accept all the 2000 series policies? Yes. And that was what it was.
I can almost assure you I don't remember anything on fixed inventory or fixed asset and
Okay.
inventory control or whatever it is.
So
Or
I'll have Brianna go through those and whatever was in the caps there, we'll make sure it's in your book. We could find that those policies were included, that were approved. But I want to make sure you have them in your books and then we can go through. I think going through in the, saying we approve all these 3000 series is not the way to do it.
no, I don't agree with that. I just want to make sure that we have everything
Yep.
that
Yeah.
we follow posted somewhere
Yep.
because that was a concern.
Yes.
So
Copies for BOE. I will make sure of that. The other piece and I'm not sure where you want this, I didn't think it was appropriate today just because we have a big long list of policies and I wanted to kind of give you high level, and give you time to review these. People will have time to provide feedback, when you get to the full board. However, I also think it's probably important that, if somebody wanted to provide feedback at a policy meeting, that might change your view of what you wanted in a policy. I don't know how you want to handle that. Like when you do a set, you could do a present to speak at the end. You could do it in the beginning, or you could do it not at all. That's up to you. Or you could just say, if you have any written feedback, send it to Phil. They won't have the examples of what you're looking at. That's a transparency thing for me that I'm not sure how you would like to handle it.
I would personally love a present to speak at least at the end.
Jen, Brianna?
I was gonna say, do it when we take things to the full board. Although that way everyone can hear what's being said. I don't know if that's then gonna add, um, like a whole lot of time when we already have two presents to speaks on there. When, policy review is on our agenda, it does say which specific ones we're reviewing, right? Like for a full board meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
I could do your policy subcommittee agenda so that you review your policies, then do a present to speak, and then just kind of like your board comment. I could do board comment at the end after the present to speak, which would allow you then to say, "Oh, that was really good feedback. Before we send this to the board, I'd like one more go and let's think about that feedback." That would allow you to change something before you sent it to full board if you wanted to provide, take that into consideration.
Yeah, I like that.
The present to speak would be limited to what was on the agenda, the policies that were on the agenda.
Yep.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right, so you're going to target library collection and the sexual discrimination and sexual harassment policies for students and personnel. If you think you could add more than that, let me know, and I will have Brianna schedule a meeting.
Can you just jot down in case I forget? I made a note too. Um, at our next full meeting, I want to make sure to say that we're adding that element to the policy committee's agendas, procedures. That way, because people don't always watch the policy meetings or come to them, whatever, because there isn't an opportunity to talk. And
Yep.
I just want to make sure that they are aware of that change so they know that they can
That
come and
process piece.
participate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Will do.
Okay.
All right, so let me just clarify then. So we're doing the present to speak during the policy committee meeting and not inserting a third into our regular meeting. That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I
And
think
then if people still had more that they wanted to say or share about it, then we're going to take all of these to the full board anyway. So there's still another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
you also have the ability, say, just give this example. Say you went through a policy, you had present to speak, you got some feedback that you think you really want to apply to a policy. In your Board of Ed comment, in your policy meeting, you could say, I would love for us to be able to have ask some more questions about that and present to speak, and you could schedule that in the beginning of your next meeting if you so choose, because you set that agenda. So if you needed more information, you needed some time for me to collect some information, to ask a person some questions, and then allow that before you debate again. You could also do that as well. It's just trying to get the information, the feedback is what you're trying to do. Okay, sound like we have a plan? Sorry for the heavy reading. I think it's important. We can get through some of these. And I tried to go through every policy that someone has said you should consider reviewing this policy too. If there's others that you feel like we need to do, let me know. But this is my legal chunk. So, all right.
yeah, thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enough. All right. We'll adjourn at 5:03 p.m. then. Thank you all.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Why is that stopping recording?